Well, Congress is back this week, and so talk is ramping up about what a potential next coronavirus stimulus package could look like. One of the key things we've been watching is whether or not they're going to do anything with that unemployment insurance, the $600 plus up that has really helped people and helped stabilize spending. We're looking at whether or not they're going to be providing aid to states and localities, another big item there, and exactly what this is going to look like. And of course, Senate Republicans are basically working with the White House on this thing.
Senate Republicans are working with the White House. Well, the only, I guess, good news about this is that Larry Kudlow appears to finally have woken up from reality. Jeffrey Stein, a friend of our show, has been tracking this. Remember, of course, this is from not that long ago, as in 8 days ago. Almost every indicator is showing a V-shaped recovery.
Really?
Well, what does he say now? Let's throw up his second tweet there on the screen. It says, for the first time, he softened his tone. There may be some moderation in the V recovery in July. That is possible. We are looking at all of the numbers. Well, interestingly enough, the moderation, of course, is going to come from coronavirus, the additional shutdowns, the additional restrictions that are in California, Florida, Texas, et cetera, which had partially reopened and now closed. But let's throw Tyne's third latest tweet up there on the screen. This is where I think if we're going to have a depression, if we're going to have a shift in anything, it's going to come from this, because the White House is saying that they want a less than $1 trillion stimulus. Now, why exactly you would cap a stimulus at the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression is completely beyond me. And I'm glad that Jeff actually lists out there what kind of some of the priorities there would look like, and he already got it to over $1.5 trillion. Now the real squabbles are going to be, what does the additional unemployment insurance look like? Now, I've seen some reporting out there saying the White House and people might be okay with $300 extra per week. No indication whatsoever about whether that would be included in any back-to-work bonus. And if that's true, it's ridiculous, because then what are you doing? Just taking money away from people? No, we should be taking the money that we might be getting on unemployment and then putting it towards a back-to-work bonus, if that's even the way that you want to do it, right? And so if we do not replace that lost income, the economy is going to crash. It's just an almost guarantee. If anything, we've seen a V recovery in only one place, or as close to a V, which is consumer spending and that reduction in poverty, all because of that unemployment. And you can look at the priorities. You can look at what the White House is saying.
Right.
No indications that income is going to get made up. We are going to have a big problem.
And the president's still out there touting the stock market as if that means anything. That was another piece of his Chris Wallace interview, by the way, another moment when he covered himself in glory. No, look. It would have been bad enough. This economic response would have been bad enough if we had actually taken the steps that we needed in order to get the coronavirus under control so that things were reopening now. It would have been bad, but we could have gotten through it. Now, with states, including some Republican states like Texas, rolling back their reopenings, with cases spiking out of control in many states across the country, hospitalizations up, death rates going back up, and we're still in the first wave of this thing, we got to be thinking big again. I mean, we're essentially like back at the beginning of this thing, and people need to be thinking about it in that way. So look, there's a new item in the Washington Post reporting that McConnell doesn't want to do any new state and local funding, which is unbelievable right now, where these states and these localities, I mean, you're talking about people, firefighters, teachers, their pensions, their ability to pay their salaries. That's all not going to be in there. Their top priorities seem to be a payroll tax cut, not very helpful if you're not on a payroll, and the corporate liability shield. Those seem to be the two top priorities here. So those will almost certainly be in there. Anything else, it's really anyone's guess. And it is very clear that just as they want to wish away the coronavirus altogether and pretend like, oh, things are getting better, they're getting better, we just have some embers we've got to put out, they want to pretend like the economy is in the same place, that it's just going to snap back, that we only need to do a little bit of moderate stimulus just to kind of get us through this rough patch. Tinker with it a little bit, nibble around the edges, and we'll be good to go. We are way beyond that.
We are so much past that. I can't describe to you how much of a catastrophe it is, because the state and local thing is first of all, state governments are some of the biggest employers of people, period.
Yes.
Now, I think something like 30 states in the country have balanced budget amendments. Well, what happens when you have a balanced budget amendment and you have all these people on payroll? Furlough. fire them. That's what happens. So you're talking about even more of a spiraling economic crisis if many of these workers are not getting paid, again, through no fault of anybody's own. State revenue is down because people can't spend money because there's an economic depression.
Right.
It's not their fault. Only the government can run deficits like this in particular, and that's what they have to do in this particular case. So you just look all the way down the line. You have Stephen Moore and all these other fools who are saying, oh, if the president, he does the unemployment, he's going to lose re-election. It's like, first, not true. It could be bad economic policy. I can accept that argument. But lose re-election because of this? Absolutely ridiculous. And the more that you look at this plan, or what is beginning to take shape, I think we are going to see a reduction. The only thing I care about, I don't care about these businesses, all these other things. I mean, the small businesses I do. I'm saying the big corporations.
Yeah.
Only thing I care about is more money in the pockets of average consumers. And when that goes down, as I'm almost certain that it will, because we're going to have instead corporate liability firm shields, or we're going to reduce unemployment and, make some fund or whatever accessible with supposedly less restrictions, stimulus checks to only people who make less than $40,000 a year, according to their tax return of 2018, not according to their tax return today. Less money in the hands of the average American consumer means massive depression. That is what it means. And that is where we're headed. It really is.
It really is. And it's just so hard. I mean, even from a political perspective, I just don't understand. You have an opportunity to work with Democrats to literally give people money, like to get them through.
Who begs their opponent to spend money, like the billions, trillions of dollars?
Please.
It's the most popular thing in the world.
And that they think that giving people money would be an electoral liability. What are you talking about? I mean, their whole analysis, first of all, they just want to wish it away and bury their heads in the sand. And then to the extent that they see any problem at all, it's that people are lazy and they don't want to go out and find a job. Go find something new, as Ivanka told us last week. I mean, this whole analysis is absolutely insane. And you're just waiting for when it's going to hit, when people are going to realize here in this town, because out there in the country, everybody knows this already, like when is it really going to hit you that we are in a massive depression? We should be thinking even bigger than we were thinking at the start of this thing, because now we know how long it is very likely to last. And by the way, maybe do some things to try to get the pandemic under control too, so that we can one day hopefully get back to normal.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated throughout the negotiations. I think we'll have some spirited discussions about it.
Indeed.
We'll have more Rising for you after this.